Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to take a look at another very simple idea today on this video. It's up to you. It is. It's up to you. What we're talking about here is the power of your mind. Now, let's be perfectly clear and make no mistake about it. This discussion is about the power of your mind, the power of our mind. There's one mind, and it's powerful. So the invitation today is for you to listen to the guidance of your inner teacher and tap into the power of your own decision, which makes worlds. The message here, starting off, is that we've played it small, really little and afraid and small for too long, far too long. And are you sick of it? You are, and I know that you are because you're watching this, you're interested in A Course in Miracles. So at some point, whether at the time you were consciously aware of it or not, you have heard the call of our inner teacher to awaken. And you answered it. So thank you for that. That really is very, very important. And that can't be stated often enough. Our mind is powerful. And we've been playing little, limited, starting with this limitation right here, the physical body. It's a limitation and separation device, isn't it? We appear to be separate from other so-called human beings running around with all of our other additional completely made up and artificial divisions and subdivisions and categorizations and subcategorizations, gender, height, weight, occupation, nationality, all kinds of artificial divisions, and all of them needless. Really, completely needless. The Son of God is not encased by a semi-permeable membrane that we call skin that appears to separate the Son of God from other sons of God who look sort of similar, but maybe so-and-so is maybe better looking, and somebody else is shorter, somebody else is skinnier, someone else is taller, etc., etc. One artificial judgment after another. The physical body is not the Son of God. In answering the call of our inner teacher, you've recognized this and you've known it all along. I mean, I have too. We all have known it all along, that the Son of God is not perishable. The Son of God is completely unlimited. Why? There is no separation of any kind. We're not separate from each other. We're not separate from God. There is no separation. None. What we call the ego is a simple mistake that we can choose to set aside. Now, this is all about the power of choice, your power of decision. Healing, what we call healing, is how we overcome separation. Separation is simply a mistake. Separation is overcome by union. It's by our recognizing that we're one with our brother. This is why true forgiveness is the practical centerpiece of A Course in Miracles. Because in truly forgiving what appears to be outside of us, we're acknowledging that it's not outside of us at all. Our brother is not outside of us. Our brother is us. And what we're seeing is simply an image on a screen. I mean, it's just like that. It's like we're watching a giant 3D movie in which we've decided that we're participants. What appears to be outside us is not outside of us at all. This world is a result of our decision to run off and think that we're separate. We're not separate from God. There is no separation of any kind. So how can we be separate from our brother? We are not. We're one with our brother. We are our brother. And in true forgiveness, we acknowledge this. There is no separation of any kind. And you have the power right now to accept that. You have the power to accept and allow truth to be just as it is. You're not separate from God. I know you know. Now, what is very interesting here in the world is that we can choose to deny that all we want. Of course we can. We can choose to deny this. We can run and hide. We can say that a spiritual teacher, whether it's this image on your screen or anyone else, is completely full of it, a complete charlatan, doesn't know what they're talking about. Yeah, no. We can judge at will. It's a choice. We experience the result, or if you want to call it the consequence, do that, fine, right? Call it the consequence of your choice. But we do. When we extend love to our brother, we experience joy. When we judge and blame and condemn, we suffer. Not rocket science, yet we want to pretend that it's rocket science. We want to pretend that awakening, our real nature, we want to pretend that reality is such a mystery. It's not a mystery at all. We've added all of the layers of complication. We've heaped it onto perfect simplicity, perfect oneness, which knows nothing else. It's perfect oneness. The healing involves our choosing this oneness, our recognition of this. It's up to us to follow the guidance of our inner teacher. As we've said before, we'll talk about it again here. The Holy Spirit does not coerce. Jesus does not coerce. He does not threaten us with punishment. It's not like our hierarchical or extraordinarily artificial hierarchical systems in the world where someone has this thing, this idea called power conferred on him or her and orders everyone about, and everyone else just does this person's bidding. Why? Because if you don't, you'll get fired or something like that. But when we really think about it, how completely made up and artificial. And that's simply one example of what goes on here in the world. Jesus and the Holy Spirit don't guide us like that. Your inner teacher does not force and doesn't coerce. If you choose not to follow, he'll wait for you to change your mind. And here in chapter 8, section 4 of the text, Jesus tells us why this is so. Because he's equal to us. Our will is equal. So equality doesn't force. It may be unrecognized, but it's still equal. He recognizes it. Do we choose to? That's the moment-to-moment question for us. Jesus's will, the Holy Spirit's will, can't overcome ours. It's just as powerful as ours. It's equal. One. One equals one, and that is literal. Literal. So we're not going to be bludgeoned or threatened into awakening. If you don't want to do it right now, you don't want to do it. So be it. However, at least a very large part of you does, because you're here. Tells me everything I need to know. It should tell you everything you need to know, right? You're watching up to this point, and let's all be completely honest with ourselves, shall we? There's a lot of other content out there. I mean, think of the sheer amount of content that's available in the world on social media and elsewhere. And here you are. When something lands for you, it is your inner teacher speaking to you. So please listen. And then it would be very beautiful of you to act accordingly, to do what your inner teacher suggests you do. Sit back, relax, and trust that it will be in the highest good of every living thing throughout space and time. Guaranteed, if you listen and act accordingly. Can we say that about our own judgment in the world? Not even. It's very powerful. Only we can choose to listen to our inner teacher. So it's up to us to choose to listen. The call that you're hearing by hopping on this video, by being even remotely interested in this thing called A Course in Miracles, the call that you're hearing and heeding right now goes out to all of us 24/7, all of the time. What we see in the world, where many people are completely disinterested in spirituality and won't even acknowledge it. They think it's woo-woo. I mean, how many times have you been called that? Woo-woo, esoteric. Yeah, really out there. Course in Miracles. What's that? Well, right? There are so many people that are out there that just aren't hearing the call. They're not listening. The call goes out to them too. The Holy Spirit's part of our mind, not a separate being. It's our inner teacher. So they're simply not listening. And will they listen in their current lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. It's really not up to us to decide that. It's up to them to decide that. We supply the volition. We supply the will to listen to our inner teacher. It's a decision, and it changes the course and trajectory of our entire experience. You want some, what we call change, in the world? Do you want what we call transformation in the world, in the way that you experience everything? Listen to the guidance of your inner teacher and act accordingly. Love, extend love, forgive the Son of God, allow truth to be just as it is. You'll find that it's not really a transformation at all. There is no transformation. There's only perfect oneness. Anything, in fact, that changes and transforms is illusion. So here in the illusion, we begin to wake up. Light begins to shine through the cracks. We're removing the veil that we ourselves have placed over our eyes. That's what enlightenment is, if you want to call it that, awakening, realizing the nature of our oneness with God. I mean, you can call it in words whatever you want. The experience is completely beyond words. It's beyond all of our concepts. God can simply be known, experienced. And the more we forgive, the thinner the veil appears, and your world appears to change a lot. It looks very different. And what it is we're simply clearing the obstacles that we've placed to our awareness of truth. We're allowing truth to be just as it is. So it's true that what we call growth and change and transformation is not transformation at all. God simply is and does not change. This, let's all be very happy about this. This means we have a home to go back to, so to speak. We don't really return there. Why? We've never left. Ideas leave not their source. The power of your decision to follow your inner teacher will make over your entire world. Want to try it? We're invited to do just that. And once you get a sampling, even just for a fraction of a second, the most minute sampling of the power of our inner teacher and of your mind, then there's no going back. You won't want to go back to shabby discriminationville. You won't want to. And let's all be real honest with ourselves, shall we? We can't go back. Why would we want to? The way it was is unworthy of the Son of God. Excess activity and frustration, believing you're separate from God. You're not separate from God. Not even, none of us is. Believing you're separate from your brother, again, you're not separate from your brother. There is no separation of any kind. None. And the more that we expose ourselves to this idea that there is no separation of any kind, the more we begin to contemplate it, and the more sense it begins to make, because it does make sense. And the more we become inspired to listen to the guidance of our inner teacher, and the more we're inspired to practice. It is in the practical application of these ideas that we prove their truth to ourselves. Our experience shows us spirituality, in whatever form it may take, is 100% about practical application. It's how we learn. Yes, it's wonderful to understand these teachings with the so-called rational, intellectual, thinking mind that arrogantly calls itself rational. Ha! Yeah, no. The discriminating, parsing out mind that wants to intellectually grasp and comprehend everything before enacting even one forgiveness lesson. Yeah, it's not necessary to understand these teachings on an intellectual level in order to begin to forgive the Son of God. That understanding may come in time, but all that you really have to understand is there is no separation of any kind. You are one with God. Only God is. And when we allow this to penetrate our minds, the more inspired we become to share, which is natural. It's natural to extend love. Why? Love extends itself. So my hope in offering this and all of these discussions is that you listen to the call of our inner teacher and begin to relax and trust and act accordingly, exercising your extraordinary power of decision in the present moment to choose God instead of the ego, to choose truth instead of illusion, to choose love instead of fear. Yeah, that's the choice that we get to make in the present moment. And from this choice comes all joy or all sorrow. Which would you rather have? That's the question that we are each invited to answer. All right. So along the way, it is 100% possible, 110% possible that questions will come up. After all, the spiritual path is one of deep self-inquiry. So to the extent that you have questions, you are more than welcome to leave them here. This is a safe and valid place for discussion of spirituality in general. And if you have questions specifically pertaining to A Course in Miracles, this is a great forum for that. So leave them if you've got them. Comments are welcome, even if you're simply typing out a hello. That's beautiful too, because it's a growing international community. So even if you want to just stop in and say hi, you're more than welcome to do that. If you've not subscribed, here's the subscription button. That's the red arrow in the corner of your screen over here. Go ahead and click that and join us. Yeah, I invite you to join us. We have several discussions posted here per week for the sake of consistency and for the fact that this decision between love or fear, between the Holy Spirit or the ego, God or the ego, light or dark, life or death, that decision is available to us all of the time. So it's very, very important that we develop here on the path consistency, same as with any endeavor in life. It's exactly the same here. The more consistently we check in with our inner teacher, the more we're going to be inspired to do what our inner teacher invites us to do. Extend love. Forgive the Son of God. All right. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon.